Lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bonsu, aka DejazmatchKwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of the Lion's Voice. Welcome to the Lion's Voice and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Tonight, I will be talking about just catching up. This is our first episode since November. We were off the whole month of October. Big up the whole Lion Pride for holding up the platform in our absence. I'm just returning from Ghana, West Africa. So we have a lot to talk about. Hurricane Melissa mash up Jamaica. We're going to talk about it. I joined the E.W.F. I'm an official member of the E.W.F. Local 12. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the topic of Black sovereignty and the whole sovereign movement. We're going to talk about it. Just give the item an update on I&I movements in October. What happened in Ghana, we're going to talk about it. I just wanted to touch base. You see, the intro was very short. We're going to get forward to everything, how we do things. But this is just a touch base. I wanted to just touch in and spread some love to the Lion Pride. I miss the item. I tell the item the truth. I miss the item. It's been so long. Today, we just dropped a brand new series. If you haven't seen it, episode 1 of our series, The Road to Heaven on Earth. We have documented our whole journey to Ghana, and we're going to be showcasing it in half an hour episodes. We got big announcements, different things to showcase. So I hope that the item love the series. We got a lot of interviews. I'm fully loaded. Trust me, I'm fully loaded. We did a lot of interviews in Ghana. So we'll be rolling those out for the next part of the year. So this next 2 months of the Roman calendar year is going to be Africa heavy content. Tomorrow, on the coronation, we'll be having a special panel featuring the African-born Rastafari perspective on the coronation, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look out for that episode. I'll be putting up the link this evening. So set your notifications. Historic panel discussions. We're still acclimatizing. I still haven't even got my sleep schedule fully forward. I tell them the truth. I'm still adjusting. However, again, I wanted to touch base with the global family just to let the item know what we've been up to. We have a lot that we're going to be doing. Let me just take time before I get into the episode to big up the Lion Pride on Patreon, who have been holding this platform up. Even while I was gone, the Lion Pride on Patreon, checking in, sending messages. The monthly subscriptions are what keep this platform going. We do have a lot of expenses, monthly subscriptions to keep everything up and running. We want to do a lot more. So for the 45 people who are monthly subscribers, I want to big up the item. We've been trying to hit 100. Our goal is 1,000 in the Patreon. It's been a long journey, 4 years. We only have 45 people, but we feel good, because those 45 people have become our family, and we're building, something solid, and that's how the Most High wants it. Sometimes you don't build fast, but you build deep, and we know that as the platform grows, that number will expand. But for right now, we have to give gratitude for what's in front of us. We can't be chasing a number and we don't take time to pause and just say gratitude for those who every month give their $5, their $10. They could be buying a Starbucks coffee, but they're supporting Rastafari independent, non-aligned media. They're putting their mouth where their money is. Since I was here, we're on the cusp of a war in Latin America. It seems like America's on the verge of invading Venezuela. Again, we had a major hurricane. We're going to talk about that. I've been getting phone calls, devastation. Give thanks that, you know, my parents were Irie. My brother wasn't in the island. So, you know, I haven't heard any bad news from any of my other family members in Jamaica. So I do give thanks. But many people lost their homes. And when I say they lost their homes, I'm talking about wipeout. I'm talking about documents. I'm talking about mementos. I'm talking about everything that you have that tie you. People have lost. So this is going to be a long-term recovery effort. The Lion's Voice Network will be bringing voices on the platform to discuss how we can assist. I've been making calls. We're not going to run out there and do anything yet until we get all of the information, but we will be doing some fundraising for the Rastafari community. You know, at least pointing. We're not going to lead it as the Lion Voice Network, but we're going to point you. Because, you know, all of these relief efforts, they reach communities, but usually the Rastafari community does not get that assistance. So we're going to be letting ones know how they can assist the Rastafari community. Not tonight, because we're still working out the details. I'm not going to run out there and just give, because I hear that a lot of scamming is going on at the same time. A lot of people, and this is how you know that wickedness is at an all-time high. In the midst of this devastation, people are using it to pad their pockets, scammer them, you know what I mean? Fire, lava, lightning, and a scammer, you know what I mean? I never have any sympathy for a thief, you know, petty thief or a scammer them. Worst type of people them. And we should never support or glorify any form of scamming. You know what I mean? The integrity of Kadamari Haile Selassie demands that we put a fire on all the people who are trying to scam, good people who are trying to give out of the goodness of their heart. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna have some special guests that probably will pass through today as well on the platform. I'm happy to say, traveling to Ghana, that the platform is having some impact. You know what I mean? People are watching, and even though it's probably not growing the speed I would love it to grow, it is having an impact. The Rastafari community is plugged in. You know, people are watching. They may not watch every episode, but people are watching. People are familiar, and really give thanks. You know what I mean? For all of the family. Big up Ras Roots. I have to give their special thanks. Grassroots, a give thanks for the best platform on the YouTube. Grassroots is one of our Lion Pride on Patreon, and he never leave I an inch. I have to always respect and big up Grassroots, because when you're a content creator, and I'm a content creator now, you know, you go through ups and downs. So the little encouragement, the words of encouragement mean a lot, family. I tell the item, when the item leave your comments, it mean a lot, because sometimes you hear doing works and you don't see, you know, the numbers. No want every video to reach 10,000, and sometimes the video them don't even reach 100, and you feel away. But when you hear from someone who watch, you know, even if it's 1 out of 60 people, and they say, boy, this video, give thanks, it had an impact. These are the things as a content creator that keep you working, that keep you motivated, that keep you pushing through for that victory. So I want to big up everyone who comments, who likes, who shares, who spread out the content to the four corners of the earth. It is more important than ever for us to have our own platform as Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media. You cannot be a free people. You cannot be a sovereign people without your own media. platforms, you know what I mean? And we overstand we're on YouTube. We don't own YouTube, but this is the first phase. You have to do everything in phases, and the first phase is YouTube. We're going to be talking about diversification in the coming months. We're on the verge of signing a major deal to get this show on a larger platform. So stay tuned for some big announcements on that setting. So we're not just confining ourselves to YouTube. This is just the beginning. Again, we're in the first phase. In my system, ecosystem, creative ecosystem system, a mature ecosystem has at least 1,000 paid subscribers. And I said that we have 45. So we're still a baby when it comes on to maturity. You know what I mean? We're still in our early phase, even though we're 4 years in. And the other thing you have to realize is that when you're doing content, it's not linear growth, it's exponential growth. So you can be at 1,000 subscribers and then you hit one video that resonate and then you're gone to 100,000 overnight. That can happen. So it's not necessarily linear growth. So you got to just keep putting in the work. The Most High determines when you will meet that maturity in terms of your ecosystem. But you got to keep on plugging away in the interim. So in the meantime, tonight we're going to be talking about E.W.F. I joined the E.W.F. officially. The item know I am an Ethiopian historian, and I want to go through the Ethiopian World Federation constitution tonight, at least the preamble, because it's going to speak to why I joined the E.W.F. at this particular time. I've known about E.W.F. For a long time, and you know what I mean, been watching, but I decided to join. In large part, I was inspired by one of our guests who is was on the platform, that sister Cheryl Murray. She, you know what I mean, really inspired I in terms of her leadership. Just watching the sister, the time that she's putting in to the works and all of these things, you know what I mean. I was inspired by that sister, and she asked me to join, and I definitely said yes. And I am now an official member. So we're gonna go through the Constitution preamble, which again, this is sanctioned by His Imperial Majesty. We've had several guests from E.W.F. on the platform, and so we're gonna go through some of that history. And again, we may have a special guest that will join us at some point during the broadcast to talk about it. And the E.W.F. brings us into a larger discussion about sovereignty, because this is like a buzzword in the Rastafari Pan-African movement right now. Everybody's talking about sovereign, they're sovereign, this and that, everything is sovereign. So we want to talk about what is sovereignty, what is Black sovereignty, what is the legal definition of sovereignty. When someone says they're sovereign, you know, I'm an attorney, so I have to give the legal definition, and we got to go into the legal aspects. If you read the autobiography of His Imperial Majesty, you know that sovereignty is one of the key themes of the autobiography, and you know, them trying to remove Ethiopia's sovereignty. So we want to talk about what that looks like. One of the main topics in Ghana that I went to was around Black food sovereignty, and also Rastafari food sovereignty. You know, these are topics that are critical, because what we're realizing is if you can't feed yourself, you cannot free yourself. So all of the big talk about this, that, and the other, if we don't control our food, then, you know what I mean, we are at the whim of those who do. So we want to talk about what it means to be sovereign. And sovereign, we're going to define it, we're going to get into it, all of these things. So stay tuned. Take the ride with us tonight as we go into these topics. Again, we're going to have some special guests, hopefully, that will pass through and bless us up as well. Put in the comments where you're watching from. All of my Jamaica family, check in, let us know how you're doing after this hurricane. You know what I mean? I know it's been a major, devastation. And also, I want to take time and big up Chronics. I'm wearing my Chronics shirt. I've been listening to the Chronics album, and I've been appreciating loving the vibration, a return to roots reggae and these things, you know what I mean? So we're gonna take some time and ride out the vibration, family. So let us start with a look at the preamble for the Ethiopian World Federation Constitution. Let's start there, and then we just go and ride naturally. So everybody can see the screen, Constitution and the bylaws. We're just gonna go through the preamble. Section 1, of course, the name of the organization shall be the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. The aims and objectives of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated shall be, and this is the important part, to promote love and goodwill among Ethiopians at home and abroad. And you can see the influence of the UNIA, Marcus Garvey right there, Africans at home and abroad. This is among Ethiopians at home and abroad. And remember the context that this was given. This was given in the time where the war was raging, the Italian invasion. A lot of scamming was taking place. The scam of them. That's why we put fire upon the scam of them. Because regardless how powerful the cause, the scam of them just scam, and they're worthless people. You know what I mean? So the need, Dr. Malaku Bayan, who was a Howard alumni like myself, big up all of my HU family, them around the world. That's why, we always represent HU, because Howard University have some great distinguished alumni. Malaku Bayan, medical student, was there doing the work and, reach out to His Majesty about the abuses that were happening. And His Majesty gave him the authorization to establish the Ethiopian World Federation to centralize the support and the outpouring of love from the diaspora to assist Ethiopia in building. So, again, Section 2A, to promote love and goodwill among Ethiopians at home and abroad, and thereby to maintain the integrity and sovereignty of Ethiopia. So you see that word sovereignty is in there. So we're going to talk about that word sovereignty so that we can be very clear when we use this word. To disseminate the ancient Ethiopian culture among its members. And yeah, I don't know, I've been doing that. I wrote Haile Selassie Ethiopia Volume 1, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings, which is a history of Ethiopia up until 1892. So everything about Ethiopian World Federation is things that we already do, that we already represent. But I'm going to talk about why I chose to join at this time. And it's in this very first paragraph, the reason. But again, let me read it again. To promote love and goodwill among Ethiopians at home and abroad, and thereby to maintain the integrity and sovereignty of Ethiopia, to disseminate the ancient Ethiopian culture among its members, to correct abuses, you see, very important, relieve oppression, and care for ourselves and our posterity, a destiny comparable with our idea of perfect manhood and God's purpose in creating us. So this is a serious opening. That we may not only save ourselves from annihilation, and this is key because we're in the midst of World War III, the whole earth descending into Armageddon. You see the nuclear testing. America just announced that they're going to resume nuclear testing. So the nuclear arms race is on. Russia just unveiled a new missile with a nuclear reactor that can fly around the world indefinitely. Nuclear reactor mean it don't need, it's not dependent on fuel. It have its own reactor in the missile. You know what I mean? So we're in a new arms race. So when we talk about save ourselves from annihilation, and on a joke thing we are dealing with, serious time. So this is one of the reasons why I had to rally to the institution established by His Majesty for this time. You know what I mean? It says not only that we may not save ourselves, so I don't want to just save ourselves from annihilation, but carve for ourselves a place in the sun. This is International Black Repatriation. In this endeavor, we determine to seek peace and pursue it, for it is the will of God and man. So this is the opening of the E.W.F. And the preamble, let me just say, again, we, the Black peoples of the world, in order to affect unity, solidarity, liberty, freedom, and self-determination, to secure justice and maintain the integrity of Ethiopia, which is our divine heritage, do hereby establish and ordain this constitution for the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. And I had one of the Lion Pride members, reach out. Let me stop this here. I had one of the Lion Pride members reach out and say, boy, why you talking about the Black peoples of the world? Rastafari people are of all colors, all nations, which is true. And I'm not a hypocrite, because we cannot say Haile Selassie the Almighty and then say white people cannot be Rastafari, Chinese people cannot be Rastafari, Indian people. If he's the Almighty, he's the Almighty of the entire planet. So we cannot deny any nation or race to hail him, Kadamawi, and we should not look at these ones as our enemies. We are brothers, who have the same father. However, why it's important that we, as one of the Black people of the world, that we uplift the Black peoples of the world, is because we have to strengthen and preserve the root. All of this is rooted from the Black peoples of the world. There's no, science is clear, history is clear, that it is the Black peoples of the world that are the mothers and fathers of civilization. And I think that we take for granted that because the Black peoples of the world are so powerful that we don't need to strengthen, we don't need to put intention on building, preserving, pouring into, uplifting, highlighting the Black peoples of the world. So one of the things that I said always on this platform, one of the reasons is that we wanted to strengthen the root. I could have chosen to get hype with the platform or just interview artists and entertainment and go for topics that I know people would click on. But I said that we had to have a Rastafari platform that feeds the root, that connects Rastafari to its Pan-African roots. That's why you see this channel is so Black, because it's intentional. And we have white members in our Patreon. The Lion Pride is every nation. We don't turn away anyone. We love everyone. But I tell all of my patrons, I tell all of my Lion Pride family that we are intentional about feeding the root, the Black people of the world. I have, and big up brethren like Akashic, who's part of our Patreon. He has his platform. He's a white Rastafari brethren. And I encourage him and others to highlight the other aspects of Rastafari on their platform, because everybody have to stay in their lane. Everybody have a lane. This doesn't mean we're antagonistic. That's the lie that they want to tell you, that and you to have the impact you can't always try to please everybody and be universal. You know what I mean? We have to uplift and have a platform that is laser focused on the black peoples of the world, because and that's all the root. So that is why I think E.W.F is so important in this time. That is why His Majesty himself, who is the father of all. Because remember, we have ones like Sylvia Pankhurst. So I'm not one of those. You have some brethren and sisters who hate white people or they don't want to deal with white people. I'm not one of those people, because I know people like Sylvia Pankhurst, Richard Pankhurst, who faithful to the Majesty. You know what I mean? People like Edward Ullendorf, who is Majesty commissioned to translate the autobiography. You know what I mean? I grew up in Toronto, in a multicultural vibration. So I have brethren from third grade who are white brethren, you know what I mean? So I grew up with white people from my youth, so I know them. So I can't express any hatred, but I have to also love my black people, you know what I mean? And I have to, anything with value deserves preservation, deserves attention, deserves commitment. And that is why I have chosen to put the focus on the black peoples of the world. This is why I decided that the time has come now, when we are, in the midst of the Third World War, when annihilation is a very real possibility. I'm in Washington D.C. right now, where the government is shut down. This is real. You know what I mean? When I was a young ras, we used to talk about, boy, say one day martial law, the place might lock down. Right now, you have the airports shutting down. There's no one, the TSA people, some of them not turning up for work because they're not getting paid. This is the collapse is happening in real time. We're witnessing it. And so the time to organize and centralize has come. You always hear I say to the global family, this is not the time to be a lone lion or lioness. It's not the time. This is the time you have to join an organization, become active. This is not the time to sit on the fence and criticize and talk about what's wrong. Big up Jabi from Dark. I just had a good reason with my elder, and the brethren was saying the same thing. You know what I mean? We have to highlight the positive all the time. We are focusing on negative things within the liberty, and we're not focusing and amplifying the positive. And anyone who has watched this channel, anyone who sees this network knows that we only emphasize the positive attributions of brethren and sisters on this platform. We don't get into no mix up, no controversy. That's one of the reasons why we haven't grown faster, to be honest, is because we deal with pure substance over here. You know what I mean? There's no pasa on this platform. We avoid these things. I mean, I get calls about guests and he said, she said, and we know no one's perfect. We know everybody have their flaws, but we choose not to focus on those or amplify those. We want to know what positive work a guest has done so that they can inspire our next one, and so that we can amplify the positivity through creation. Very important, you know what I mean? Right now, because there's so much darkness, you know what I mean? We need that light. We need to be reminded who we are as Rastafari people. We need to show people that although we big up the reggae singers and they've done great work in spreading the good news about Rastafari, we also need to showcase that Rastafari is not just artists and smoking ganja. We have architects, engineers, doctors, lawyers, academics, professors, you name it, any profession, contractors, builders, you know what I mean, plumber, electrician, all facets, mathematicians. We have a Rastafari and STEM series with highlighting our engineers. We want to show the full spectrum of Rastafari on this platform, you know what I mean? So to I and I, that is very important part of what we are doing. And again, this is why it's so important. And I know that a lot of I and I out there already are part of E.W.F, but many people are not active because of the infighting. And that was one of the reasons I didn't join E.W.F earlier, is because infighting, and we hear all of the, you know what I mean, the confusion. You know, there was a time there was court cases, and I didn't want to go into that because I come from the Nyabingi order, so I know chaos, you know what I mean, in terms of what that can look like. We got through that, we lived through that, and I didn't want to go into a next entity where we're dealing with that kind of vibration. And big up my Nyabingi family, because yes, we have great things, you know, Nyabingi Foundation, but we have to be truthful that we do have a lot of chaos and hold back in the Nyabingi order. So I didn't want to get into another organization. However, I saw where this Sister Cheryl, and others have been working tirelessly to, you know, work to uplift the E.W.F. I saw this sister traveling, spending her own money, going around, uplifting the locals, you know, really putting forward that structure. Um, to make the because E.W.F has the potential to really be so powerful, and it's a Pan-African institution. It's not a Rastafari institution. We have to be clear about that as well. I'm a Nyabingi man. That is my Rastafari affiliation, even though this platform is non-aligned. Um, you know, I'm a Nyabingi man. E.W.F is our Pan-African interface. So this is a Pan-African platform. So the time has come again. We're facing down annihilation globally. We want to carve out a place for ourselves in the sun. I'm just returning from Ghana. And if you haven't seen the episode we dropped today about the first episode of our series, The Road to Heaven on Earth, check it out, because returning from Ghana, I can tell you I'm on a high right now. Still riding the wave. I told a sister that um, being in Accra is like being, I can imagine being in Harlem in the 1920s during the Harlem Renaissance. You know what I mean? The amount of black people who are from all over the diaspora that are in Ghana right now, the amount of development, the building, the reasonings, just the energy, you know what I mean? It's so high. If you have not been to Ghana, you need to go. And it's like a conveyor belt of culture, because people are going to the dungeon. You have a whole. I've been to the slave dungeon. I can't count the amount of time I've been there, but every day you have a new set of black people going there for the first time, confronting the transatlantic slave trade, the human trafficking, because a lot of people are saying we can't call it trade. It was no trade. It was transatlantic human trafficking. Um, you know what I mean? A lot of people are experiencing that for the first time. So that healing, going to the last slave bath, all of these things, the naming ceremonies, these are happening every day. It's like a conveyor belt of people waking up, healing. This is happening. So that energy in Ghana is there. It's high. You know what I mean? We'll be showcasing some of it in our series. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So we're carving a place for ourselves in the sun. E.W.F is strong there. We were received by one of the E.W.F chapters in Ghana. They're getting ready to establish a new E.W.F chapter in the Volta region. So, I mean, it was just so powerful being in the motherland, seeing repatriation in reality. Remember, as a young Ras, my first trip to Ghana was in 2005. And when I went to Ghana for the first time, it was on KLM. We went through Holland, and it was mostly white people and Ghanaian nationals who were going home for vacation on the flight. The last time I went to Ghana just now, it is Black Americans, it's Caribbean people who live in America, it's UK, you know what I mean? It's the diaspora and the Ghanaians them together, going the full flight black or black, you know what I mean? So there's a shift that is taking place. And the thing is, if you're not on that frequency, if you're not going to see that, you would think nothing is not happening. You would sit down in your house or scroll by your phone and not know, say, repatriation is in full swing. You know what I mean? The repatriation is happening. People are buying land, people are building, people are purchasing properties. It is going on, family. And I am happy to be a part. I have my land. I put up exclusive on Patreon of my land. The process, we reason with Brother John. He's building his house right now. Just finished the foundation with an in-depth conversation. And some things is not going to be shared on the regular YouTube. Something you have to be a part of the inner circle on Patreon to get certain exclusive content. And, you know, especially things about I and I family and personal chad. Those things are for the Patreon. So if you want to tap in, get some information. If you're interested in relocating to the continent, tap into the Patreon, $5-10 a month. We're going to be building in there for those who are interested. We're going to have special guests that will reason on that, you know what I mean, and resources, different things. We're going to have special guest speakers every month. We didn't do a town hall for October, but we're going to return to our town hall meetings in November. So stay tuned. We got a lot planned, a lot going on. It's going to be very beautiful. Again, we're building a community. It's not just a platform, but you get in where you fit in. So for some people, you just want to watch. That's fine. Other people want to tap in deeper. Other people are searching for that community. Big up man like Ras Roots, who he lives in Kentucky. He might be the only Ras in his area. So now tapping in, he gets to connect with a community of like-minded people and be a part of a larger community. And again, this is the time to tap in with community. This is the time to not be a lone lion or lioness. Again, we're in the time of the Armageddon. We just see natural disaster. We see famine and flood. We see wars and rumors of wars, you know what I mean? They say when you see these signs, stand in the holy place. If you're in the city, flee to the mountain, you know what I mean? These are all prophecy of Yeshua. I know some people born Jesus, born Yeshua, but the prophetic sound of Yeshua go and bite some people. May I tell you, I them it's serious. Remember, Kadamawi Haile Selassie the first is the defender of the faith of Yeshua. So I would take it serious, you know what I mean? And these times are here. They're upon us. It's not waiting. It's not looking out for the Armageddon. We are quickly descending to that great war, the great war, Armageddon war. And where you are when that war breaks out, the hot war I'm talking about, because right now it's different phases of the war that's taking place. But when that hot war break out, where you are based will matter. And people in the islands are finding out the hard way too, that when our elders say, I'm not going to give up a continent for an island, it's a serious sound. We take it light. And a lot of people were saying, boy, them not leave the island. I know some of those people are thinking different now, because you build up all these things in the island, one storm come blow it away, you know what I mean? And remember, we chant Rastafari win a blow east, Rastafari win a blow west, and it sounds like a judgment morning, you know what I mean? So you really have to know that if you're in the island, and I'm not an advocate for abandoning the islands completely, because the islands are part of the sixth region of Africa. So we are claiming the islands as satellites of Africa. But in terms of putting all of your seeds in that basket, I don't think it's wise. I think every African should have a groundation on the continent, and then the island is your satellite, your second home, your, you know, your heritage in terms of the exile, but everyone have their birthright on the continent. There's enough land. So get your land so that, you know, when your house and things in the island, if they blow away, you have all of your valuables secured on the mother continent. You know what I mean? That's how I would look at it, is not, again, putting all your seeds in one basket, hedging against what's happening. And then on top of the hurricane and the weather condition, which, you know, there's a lot of talk, was this a man-made event? Is this HARP? Is this, you know, weather manipulation? We don't know. But one thing is for sure is that these events are going to increase, whether it be the waters warming because of atmospheric changes, whether it be manipulation. These events will increase. And what is the solution? Because it's going to take Jamaica years to recover from this climate, you know, calamity. It's going to take years for some of the ones them. You know, when your house disappear, all your belongings, that's not something you recover from in a month or 2 months. You know what I mean? You have to rebuild from scratch, some people. So it's going to take time. And you have people, farms that have also been wiped out. So food security, food sovereignty, your food access, you know what I mean? You're preparing for the harvest. The harvest is how you make money to pay for your school fee, to do all of these things. So what do you say to the farmer who lost his whole crop in a one night through a storm? You know what I mean? So we have to understand these things are the reality right now in this Armageddon time. And then on top of that, as I said, the United States preparing to invade Venezuela. We have major battle groups sailing through the Caribbean Sea down to South America. If this war kicks off as many people anticipated will, how is that going to impact the shipping lanes in the Caribbean? Most of these Caribbean islands are importing substantial amounts of food. So how does that look when those shipping lanes are interrupted because the whole Caribbean basin is a battlefield? You know what I mean? These are the things that we have to be thinking about strategically as we move into this Iowa. All of the comfort and comfortability is being removed. The Most High is doing that because he wants I and I to wake up. You know what I mean? We've been slumbering as the black people of the world, and the Most High wants us to wake up, come together, and to rise into our divinity. You know what I mean? We were put here to be just as great, if not greater than the angelic beings. You know what I mean? And right now, most of us are living in a state of slumber. So we have to rise up, and our divinity, our power has always been in collective security. You know what I mean? Where I am deficient, my brother have that strength. Where I am deficient, my sister have that strength. Where my sister is deficient, I have that strength. So our power has always been in our collective strength and abilities. So that is why we are building the Lion Voice Network on a crowdfunding principle. You know what I mean? Because when you depend on sponsors and big sponsor, the big sponsor control you. You don't have no say. You can't really be independent. You know what I mean? Look at this whole thing with Charlie Kirk, who is the conservative influencer. You know, there are a lot of allegation that he was killed by, you know, his donors. You know what I mean? I won't say no names, but this man was funded to the tune of billions by wealthy donors. And before he died, he told them he's not following them again. And then the man dead soon after. So, and this is an extreme case, but may I tell the item this, because this is what happens when you depend on big donors. They feel like they own you. And these are allegations. We're not saying anything other than what's been alleged. However, the point is that we have to depend on the crowd. The people is the power. So that is why the item here, I always big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. That's why we're trying to build that community. because we don't want to be beholden to any one or two or three or four sponsors who are funding the operation of Rastafari Media. Rastafari Media has to be a crowd, a people platform. To be truly Rastafari, in my estimation, it has to be the people providing the power. That means that we can really be independent. If I want to burn out somebody, I don't have to afraid that if I burn them and that person is a friend that want to sponsor them, that half of my budget is gone. You understand? So I have to be building this thing as a crowd platform. So I say all of that to say, why did I join the Ethiopian World Federation at this time? I joined, as I said, because the time for collective action has arrived, and the time for us to come together, to put down the petty differences, to rally, to lift up the instruments that have been provided. And if anything, in my identity, how I see myself as a servant of Kadamawi Haile Selassie I the First. I see myself as an instrument of His Majesty. So how could I not join the institution set by His Majesty for this very time? You know what I mean? We look at E.W.F as something that was set in 1936, 37 during the Italian invasion. But really, when you read the charter, the preamble, you can see it was made for this time as well. You know what I mean? Not just to save ourselves from annihilation. Let me read that part again. Again, it said to promote, this is 2A, to promote love and goodwill among Ethiopians at home and abroad, and thereby to maintain the integrity and sovereignty of Ethiopia, to disseminate the ancient Ethiopian culture among its members, to correct abuses, relieve oppression, and carve for ourselves and our posterity a destiny comparable with our idea of perfect manhood and God's purpose in creating us, that we may not only save ourselves from annihilation, but carve for ourselves a place in the sun. In this endeavor, we determine to seek peace and pursue it, for this is the will of God for man. So this is also a declaration of the pursuit of heaven on earth. And the item we'll see on this platform, we have the theme, the building of Zion. We talk about the building of heaven on earth, and we go that extreme because we have to be very clear in our goals, you know what I mean? And if our goal is not the manifestation of heaven on earth, then what we're really fighting for, you know what I mean? What are we really doing if it's not the establishment of heaven on earth? As a divine person, if I say I and I, meaning that I'm the divine in I, or talk to the divine in the I, and we come together, if it's not for the establishment of Zion on earth, what we are do? You know what I mean? It have to be. So I'm very clear that is the goal, that is the mission, and the E.W.F charter, it's a declaration of that. You know what I mean? When it talks about the idea of perfect manhood, the idea of perfect manhood and God's purpose in creating us. Think about that, you know what I mean? If that's not heaven on earth. But it also speaks about sovereignty. So I want to go to the dictionary definition of sovereignty so that we can have a discussion on sovereignty. Because this is a word that everybody is using, and I don't think a lot of us really understand what sovereignty is. So I'm going to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not the best source, but it gives you a little framework that we can work with. and we'll go to other sources as well. But we can start with Wikipedia. So let's look. So it says sovereignty generally can be defined as a supreme authority. Sovereignty entails a hierarchy within a state as well as external autonomy for states. In any state, sovereignty is assigned to the person, body, or institution that has the ultimate authority over other people and to change existing laws. In political theory, sovereignty is a substantive term designating supreme legitimate authority over some polity. In international law, a state is generally considered to have sovereign authority over a territory when it has consistently exercised state authority there without objection from other states. De jure sovereignty refers to the legal right to do so. De facto sovereignty refers to the factual ability to do so. This can become an issue of special concern upon the failure of the usual expectation that de jure and de facto sovereignty exist at the place and time of concern and reside within the same organization. So that is really what I wanted to get out of this reason, is the whole concept of de jure and de facto sovereignty. You know what I mean? That is what I really wanted to touch on. And these concepts are expressed again. If you read the autobiography of His Majesty, these concepts are really outlined and in depth. His Majesty goes over these concepts in the autobiography, volume 1 and 2. And the reason why it's important, because de jure, you have a lot of de jure sovereign states that are not sovereign in reality. Let me give an example. Ukraine is a de jure sovereign state, have a seat at the UN. They have the legal right, but de facto, Ukraine does not have any authority over its territory, because as we found out with the USAID leaks, foreign governments are paying the entire, the media, the government, everything is being funded externally. According to New York Times reports, the entire war effort is being conducted by foreign military, NATO operatives, CIA, MI6, all of these people. So the Ukrainians, even though on paper is a sovereign state, they do not have actual sovereignty over their affairs. And there are many states that have their seat at the UN where it's a foreign power that calls the shots. So these are not really sovereign states de facto, but they are de jure sovereign, meaning they have the right under the law to govern their affairs. They on paper they're sovereign, and there's no objection externally from any states, but the reality is that they are not sovereign. So that de jure sovereignty is something that is not very easy to attain, because it really does require that you're recognized as such by other sovereign states. And for I, particularly as E.W.F, when we're talking about sovereignty, I don't think the goal is to become an E.W.F state over a certain territory. However, I think what is more important for the Black peoples of the world at this particular time is de facto sovereignty, meaning that Black people having supreme authority over the things that impact us as Black people. I think that is a goal that we must work assiduously to attain. And this is where now I want us to focus, because a lot of time when this buzzword sovereignty is used, most people in their mind are thinking about de jure sovereignty, And we're not doing the work. We don't spend any time looking at de facto sovereignty. And I've had this reasoning even with the Maroons. I've had this reason with a lot of ones, that, the Moorish people. Anytime this reasoning come up, this has always been my stance. Why I'm a little bit reticent or a little bit reluctant to go out there and talk about, yes, I'm sovereign and this and that, because I feel like it's counterproductive to call ourselves sovereign when we don't have de facto sovereignty. You know what I mean? And we're not even actively working toward the de facto sovereignty. You know what I mean? Because you'll have individuals say that they're sovereign, but you're by yourself. So you really can't be sovereign by yourself. Sovereignty is not a individual sport. You know what I mean? Sovereignty is a collective. You know what I mean? Because sovereignty means that you can defend it, that you can actualize it, that, you know what I mean, you can realize it. De facto sovereignty may talk now. So this is why before we go out there, and don't get me wrong, you know what I mean, a declaration, or you got to start with the declaration, you got to feel it inside. But I don't want that feeling inside, because most of the time we stop with the feeling and the declaration, and we're not doing the work day to day to become de facto sovereign. And the pillar, why I can say that with confidence is because the pillar of de facto sovereignty is food sovereignty. You know what I mean? And this is brings us to my Ghana trad, what we are talking about, which is black food sovereignty. Without food sovereignty, you cannot be sovereign, because if you cannot feed yourself, you cannot stand up to anything. You know what I mean? Everybody have to eat food. So if we're not talking about food sovereignty, we're not talking about agriculture, then we're not serious about sovereignty. I don't want to hear nobody come tell me about sovereign and you're not talking about food. That's where it starts. You know what I mean? The basis. And as we prepare to save ourselves from annihilation, it is critical that we map our food system from seed to table. We should be controlling, black people should be in control. Why is that important? Because GMO, they've been poisoning us with the food. You have a thing named glyphosate, meaning is a poison that they use to fertilize, the pesticide, causing infertility, causing all kind of vibration. You know what I mean? This is a crazy world that we're living in. So if we are not sovereign over our food, we're accepting thing. Right now in America, they're getting rid of SNAP benefits, welfare benefits, food stamps, these things. When you get this food from the government, how much of this food is processed, highly GMO, highly contaminated? We don't know where this food is coming from as black people. So the problem is that, you know what I mean, if we don't get serious, map out these things, work to attain this de facto sovereignty, then we're going to be victims. You know what I mean? We're just going to be victims. That's all that's going to happen. And I don't want us to be a victim. I don't look at myself as a victim. I want to be a sovereign Rastafari brethren. So we have to do a lot of work. And it's not an easy road. Don't get me wrong. Don't let me fool you and think that this is just a talk and it's going to be an easy road to sovereignty, de facto sovereignty. It's a hard fight, but it is the fight to fight in this Armageddon time. It's the only fight to fight in this Armageddon time. So if you're distracted by he said, she said, like this person called Ray Tete, get that out of your mind right now, family. We got to put down these things and we have to work. My family in Jamaica, again, we're going to have to do some serious work to attain food sovereignty in the next, months and years ahead. And this problem has been compounded by this natural disaster. I know brethren whose whole farms have been wiped out. You know what I mean? So you have to go start your crop again from scratch. and how long it's going to take to plant and then to reap. So in the meantime, there's going to be a great need. Again, we're going to be talking about that with different people over the coming strongs. So be prepared. We're going to have ways that ones can attribute, but I'm not running out there. We're going to vet, make sure that we get some credible places where ones as Rastafari can do their due diligence and send their funding. So be prepared. We're going to have some hurricane vibration because, again, you give to the Red Cross, you give to the government side, that not reaching the Rastafari community. And we have several of our things that are there. Now, Bongo Wisely, one of our great elders, is asking what type of sovereignty does the Maroons enjoy? The Maroons, I would say, are on their path to de facto sovereignty. And, you know, I had the opportunity to reason with Maroon Chief Curry about this very topic and advise him the same thing. You know, I mean, work toward food security. I'm not sure that they're, you know, at the time I spoke to them, they weren't 100% food sufficient, but they were working in that direction. So, and again, a lot of the Maroons, they fly out on Jamaica passports. So that's not de jure sovereignty. So I wouldn't say that they're de jure. I think the royal family, Chief Curry and him people, I think they have a Maroon passport that they use and that they, you know, has worked for them. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote I, but in terms of the whole of the Maroon people, them I know a lot of them are still using Jamaica passports and the ones who are traveling and so forth and so on. So they're not de jure, but they're working to de facto, and they are, you know what I mean? They have the strongest case, I think, in terms of the Jamaica context for making that claim of sovereignty based on their history and so forth. But the reality is the reality, and we have to be very real. You know what I mean? Once you are dependent or you're importing food and you're not in control of your full food supply, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to say that you're sovereign, because if somebody cut that off, what you gonna do? You know what I mean? So we have to work toward being self-sufficient as much as possible, meaning that all aspects of our society, we are the ones in control of it. We are the supreme authority, according to the definition, as it relates to all aspects of our society. So this is what I want us as a people, as a lion pride, as a global lion pride, as a global Rastafari Pan-African family. Again, this is the fight to fight right now, is for de facto. Don't worry about de jure, because right now is the law of the jungle around the place anyway. So all of the laws, them people that have brought the laws, them they're not observing that. So we don't have to watch the de jure part right now. This is I talking. I'm not talking on behalf of any organization. I'm not talking on behalf of E.W.F. I'm not talking on behalf of IDOR. I'm not talking on behalf of Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society. I'm not talking on behalf of Habesha. I'm not talking on behalf of any of the organs that I serve in a role. This is DejazmatchKwasi talking now. And I'm saying we don't need to worry about de jure sovereignty. We need to be working toward de facto sovereignty as the black peoples of the world, making sure that as black people, we control things that deal with black people. Great example of sovereignty. The greatest, I think, right now are the AES, Ibrahim Traore, Assemi Goita, and what's the next brethren name? What's the next brethren name? Assemi Goita and Chiani, I think his name is from Mali or Niger, one of them. But anyhow, they now are exercising sovereignty, de facto sovereignty. When you see them creating their own development bank um, and these things, you know what I mean? That is serious. The Naya Kapong Maroons have their own ID, passports, etc. All right, so that would be an example of de jure sovereignty. And if that's the case, more power to them in terms of them traveling. Because these are the um, components of de jure, meaning that other sovereign states are recognizing them as sovereign. They don't have a seat at the UN, but you know what I mean. If they have their own passports, then they're definitely on their way to de jure sovereignty. But again, to I, de jure is not the important aspect right now. Right now, when we go into World War, the key is de facto sovereignty. Do you have on the ground? Do we have control over all facets of what we need to survive, food, clothes, and shelter? This is what we have to work. And it's a local struggle, but we need to connect all of the different local hubs into an international web. So right now in the modern world, there's what's called a global supply chain, meaning that there's very few things that are just locally made and produced. It's a global supply chain. And I don't mind that if we control that global supply chain. You know what I mean? We can't depend on China, Russia, USA, all of these other non-black countries for our survival, because these countries, they're going to prioritize their own reality over the needs of the black people of the world. They've demonstrated that consistently over hundreds of years. So we would be foolish and we would be naive to put our future in this Armageddon time in their hands. It's nothing personal, it's nothing emotional, it's just the reality of knowing we have to look out for ourselves. Because who else going to look out for us? When the government lock down and shut down, where do we turn to look out for our interests as the black people of the world? Who are we going to be high on the priority list? You know, the Chinese people have their own Chinatown and supply chain. Are they going to be prioritizing black people when everything hit the fan and everything lock off? Will the Europeans, Americans prioritize black people when the government shut down and services are not there and limited food and thing for run? Are they going to prioritize black people? This is the condition that we have to think about. So when we talk about uh, black food sovereignty or sovereignty for the black people of the world, it's not to be exclusionary, it's to be a reality person, meaning that we look at the historic reality and we prepare. That's all we're saying. We're not hating on anyone, we're not fighting nobody. We love everybody, but we know we have to look out for our own interests, because when things hit the fan, everybody, every vine to his own fig tree. That's part of the prophecy. You know what I mean? So we would be silly to depend on the goodwill of others. You know what I mean? Even the whole topic of reparation. I've been saying for some time, we're not going to get reparation until we don't need it, till we demonstrate that we don't need it. Because people only negotiate with people who have power. So if we think that because of goodwill and because we have a great argument and a just argument and we write a nice letter and we protest that the people are going to give us reparation, then we're fooling ourselves. Europe, America don't have any money. These economies are collapsing. They're in literal collapse. So if you think that they're going to prioritize giving black people money right now when their economies are in free fall, when they are diverting all the little piece of money where they have to military spending, This is reality me I talk about, you know. So if you think that you're gonna get reparation right now, um, it's very naive. The only time we'll get that reparation is when we demonstrate that we're powerful and we have leverage to negotiate, and now they're gonna divert the money because they can find it. You know what I mean? When their back is against the wall, they find it because they're finding it for military spending right now. Um, that's when we'll get that reparation. So before we do anything, we have to make ourselves powerful. And before we make ourselves powerful, we gotta start from square one. It come back to food, come back to food sovereignty, come back to genetics, owning, controlling the genetics of the seeds that we plant, making sure there's no GMO for weakening out our strain. Seeds are a sacred trust that were given by the Almighty, you know what I mean, to mankind as a heritage. So we have to be preserving our seed banks. You know what I mean? We have to have a network of seed banks that we are controlling. These are the hallmarks of sovereignty that we're talking about now. When we talk about sovereign, de facto sovereignty, if you don't have a seed bank, you're not serious about sovereignty. You know what I mean? So these are the things that I want us to be focusing on. And these are the things on this platform we're going to be focusing on, we're going to be discussing. One of the meetings that we had in Ghana was around the ITAL certification standard, and we're going to be showcasing that in the series, some of those discussions around the ITAL standard. Because within the whole global and black food sovereignty reasoning, we have to have a Rastafari sovereign system, food system, because remember our Pan-African brothers and sisters, they might eat pork, they might eat lamb chops, they might eat hog meat. We don't sit them with it, so we can intermingle our system with those aspects of their system, because you have a truck where I transport your hog meat, your pig feet and thing there. I can't tell it's enough to eat pig meat and pig feet because we have to be tolerant. But that don't mean say I have to mix up. You know what I mean? We should have our own sovereign system from seed to table as Rastafari that is according to the ITAL standard, pure, strictly plant-based. And what we'll find is that our Pan-African brothers and sisters will be glad because they will want, some of them who are vegan or who are vegetarian will want to, have that assurance. They love to buy from the Ras because they know that the Ras food is blessed and it's not contaminated. So within that, we have to create our own sovereign food supply system. So these are the things that we're going to be talking about. We're not going to be talking about mix up on this platform. So I know that's why I only have 45 patrons, because we don't deal with the mix up. It's not exciting. But guess what? As the world crumble, as the West crumble, as Babylon crumble, I know more of the family are going to chat in, because it's going to get exciting to talk about survival. Trust me. Because this is just the beginning. Worse times are ahead. If you think now is rough, it's going to get rougher, my family. Big up Grassroots, Speaking Fire, Kwasi, give thanks. Give thanks for the contribution, Grassroots. Don't think I don't see the eye with the financial contribution. It means a lot, because doing this work on the level that we want to do it is going to cost us a lot of money. We want to hire staff. Part of being sovereign means having an independent media that is controlled by I and a well-funded media. So if you love what you're seeing, contribute, become part of the Patreon. You can give a super chat, but put in your mind, let's get this freeness vibration out of our mind. This is one of the things that hurts us as black people, is we look for the freeness, or we feel resentful if we have to pay for something. But you can't be free and independent if you don't invest in being free and independent. So we have to put that out of our mind, and we have to take pride. Other communities take pride in that they pay and that they have their media. If you look at the European Jews, for example, a lot of people criticize them, but look what they're doing. Or even right now, they're purchasing media platforms. Why? Because they want to have narrative control. The man them just by CBS. You know what I mean? The Ellison family just bought CBS, putting a system that they feel confident in, very wise to orchestrate, so they can have narrative control. They never like what CBS attack, they just buy it. You know what I mean? So when we talk about media, again, true independent media has to be audience funded, and this is one of the marks of sovereignty. So we can't say we're sovereign as Rastafari people. We don't have an independent media apparatus. What I'm doing is beautiful, but it's not funded well. So for us to really get to that level where, right now I should have correspondents on the ground in Jamaica going to all of the different Rastafari sacred spaces and bringing back the footage, which we do have one sending eye footage, and we will be sharing that in the coming strong. But we should have Lion Voice Network correspondence with them nice Lion Voice mic out there reasoning with elders and finding out what is the need, and we're reporting forward. That has to be funded, where we can pay correspondence. But are we willing to invest in ourselves to make that happen? I'm asking the item, because I'm just here as an instrument doing the work. I was called to the media to do this work by His Majesty, but I'm still waiting on my family globally to support 45 people. We give thanks. We wanted to launch a grant program. I said at 50 people, we're going to launch a grant program where we're going to be giving a monetary contribution to a worker every month in Rastafari and highlighting their work. We still haven't hit 50 people in the Patreon. So a lot of people watch and give thanks, because the watching also helps with the monetization of the channel, don't get me wrong. But the real strength comes from the monthly subscribers who give their contribution, or the people who give their super chats or their contribution, or Ubuntu Lion Pride, a one-time contribution of $100 US creates an Ubuntu sponsorship. So, whatever way you can support, I'm thankful. But if we want to talk about true sovereignty, again, we need a well-funded media apparatus. And remember that a well-funded media apparatus means that our businesses now have an audience to advertise to that is like-minded, that is looking for Rastafari content. It means that when we have a disaster, we have an audience that is ready to contribute. So having that media, having that robust thing is not just about the DejazmatchKwasi making money. Yes, I do want to make money because I'm not into the poverty chad, and I'm not into the permanent volunteer Ethiopian chad either, because volunteerism permanently is not sustainable. I have children who need college fee and all of those things. So for me to commit the time to do this, we have to have the economic resource. We have to have the economic resource to do this. So I'm going to be appealing to, we have about 100 core, even through October, the videos, have been reaching 100 views. So that tells me, and we didn't do any advertising through the whole month of October. And I did that intentionally, because usually we do a little bit of advertising for the platform just because of the algorithm. It doesn't pick up unless you spend money. And we talk about that in my Patreon. If you want to know how to build your own platform, how to reach people, how to grow your platform quickly, we talk about that in the Patreon. We're doing a whole series on that for the Patreon members. But we didn't do that. But I saw we have about 100 core, hardcore supporters of the platform, but not all of them are supporting financially. So I'm going to be pushing that in this time, because again, this is not a play time. This is the Armageddon time, and so we need to get this platform fully funded. And again, that's 1,000 monthly subscribers would allow me to be full time in the media. You know what I mean? For me to stop practicing law and to be full time, we would need at least 1,000 monthly subscribers at the $10 a month um, uh, marker. Big up Grap Lover with the $5 super chat. Big up yourself. Give thanks for the reason in the DejazmatchKwasi. Blessings to the Lion Voice Network. And big up to the eye, Ross Gregg, because the eye has been one of the consistent supporters. And I see the consistent supporters, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, and we're grateful. Because we know it's hard to come by the money. But also remember that the money that we have, particularly if we're in the United States, is not going to have value for much longer. Gold has become the global reserve currency. The fiat currencies, the paper money of the West, is going to collapse at some point. So while it still has value, let us pour into our platforms, our media, our schools. And remember, when this platform becomes a mega platform, we have 10,000 monthly subscribers. What do you think we're going to do? We are now going to invest in critical infrastructure like events and things where we can now become a sponsor for Rastafari functions. We can now become an investor in building a Rastafari school, rites of passage programs, all of the things that we need. When you have a robust media, you have power because you have an audience, you know what I mean? You have an audience, and that means a lot, you know what I mean? Because again, the power is with who? The people. The power is always with the people. So I just want the item to know how serious it is, you know what I mean? We're coming back fresh. This is our first broadcast since going to Ghana. So I'm just being very real with my global family about where we are, what we're trying to do. And we're not going to stop bringing the content, but yeah, we want the item to support and be intentional about the financial support so we can scale and we can bring this thing to a level quickly, you know what I mean? Because we want to be able to travel and to, again, be full-time in and be able to hire editors, professional editors, step up the quality, all of these things. And I'm not using my new camera right now. I'm just kind of getting myself together. So we'll get back on that track. Tomorrow, remember, we have a special panel discussion, all African panel, speaking on the coronation, special coronation edition. For my DMV family, we also have a coronation event taking place, so get ready for that as well. Big coronation event taking place in the DMV. It's going to be a beautiful thing. If you are in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area, I'm going to share the flyer so that ones can see while going. That's tomorrow, and we're also doing our panel discussion. Ross Roots is asking about BRICS. BRICS, if you're talking about Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that is the battle line that's drawn between BRICS and the G7. This is the World War III that we're talking about. Even if you look at Venezuela, the impending invasion of Venezuela, Venezuela is aligned more with the BRICS countries, the G7, all of the different conflicts. If you break it down, you'll see it's G7 against BRICS and BRICS aligned countries. So all of the hot wars, all of the destabilizations, the cover revolutions that are happening, it's along those battle lines. And that's why I say World War III has already started, because the war is on. It's on many battlefronts. Some are hot, some are cold. but it's war, you know what I mean? Bob Marley, quoting His Majesty, say, everywhere is war. Me say war. Why? Because the philosophy that all one race superior and another inferior is still around. So everywhere is war. Um, so it is real, family. Um, so I want to just highlight tomorrow coronation in the DMV. If you're in the DMV, we do have a coronation event. There'll be youth trivia. There'll be coronation presentation, ital food. We are asking an attribution, $10 to $50 attribution. It is being hosted by the Anniversary Development of Rastafari. So if you are in Washington, D.C., Maryland, or Virginia, tune in, come forward, we're rallying the community. I'm sure we're going to talk about Rastafari food sovereignty in the region, because again, this topic of food sovereignty is a regional conversation, because anytime the trucks can stop coming into the city there, you know what I mean? I have a brethren who's one of our Lion Pride on Patreon. We've been working, talking about a Rastafari Trucking Association. He's going to be coming at some point to talk about global supply chain and how fragile, because most people just know, so them go to the health food store, them go to the grocery store, them buy them things, them organic, and them nice. They don't know how these things reach or how fragile these supply chains are globally. And this is why we have to have this conversation about local supply chains and global supply chains and know what we're doing, because it's so serious in terms of what we need to do to survive. You know what I mean? It's so serious, family. I can't stress enough how serious the times that we're living in. And I know it can seem like doom and gloom, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear this. You want to hear something light, you want to hear something funny, you want to hear something entertaining. But sometimes we have to have these talks, family, because we have to wake up as mature adults in the trad, brethren from 40 to 60, and our young adults from 20 to 40. You know what I mean? So all of our adult Rastafari, these are the things that we now are tasked with. We can't blame the youths, which to I are all the Rastafari under 20. We can't blame the youths, and we can't put this on the shoulders of the elders. Anybody over 60, they've done their child. We can now look to them to carry the weight. So our most productive people from the ages of 20 to 60, we cannot have the luxury of not addressing these things. This is what we have to do. Our elders, history is going to judge them very kindly. Why? Because everywhere you go on the planet, you see that there is Rastafari established. You know what I mean? Around the planet. I was just in Ghana. The love where Rastafari have is not because of the DejazmatchKwasi go Ghana and fight in a battle. It's because the elders them will come before I fight some battle, and the people them love I and I. Driving through Ghana, me see His Majesty on the minibus them. Me see Lion of Judah stickers on the minibus them. It's not I do that. Is the elders who come before I and I do these things and fight these battles. So the elders them do them work, but I and I now have the job of establishing the institutions. I and I have the responsibility of building that food sovereignty. And that's just the first pillar of being sovereign. We have so many other pillars that we're going to talk about, but I'm going to start there because I don't want to overload the item with too much. So, we've been stressing agriculture on the platform. We're going to go into overdrive on food sovereignty. We're going to be breaking down what the food supply system looks like. Again, this from the seed bank to the transportation, to the harvest, to the post-harvest, to the distribution, to the aggregation, to the wholesale, to the retail. All of these things have to have Rastafari ownership, black people ownership over each step along the way of the food supply chain. This is our first step to being truly de facto sovereign. So we got to get practical right now. I'm not going to argue with a man about whether the red fit the on top or the green on top. I'm not going to argue with a man about the divinity of his imperial majesty or how a man see the divinity of his imperial majesty, how a man see the Trinity, whether or not a man deal with the Judeo-Christian or whether he's a Kemet man or he's a Akan man or whatever type of Rastafari he is. I'm not going to argue. We can reason on them thing there, you know. We can reason on them thing there, but I'm not going to sit down and argue with a man because it don't bring us nowhere. You know what I mean? We got to talk about practical things. We got to build something together right now. That is the reasoning I want to have. Now, let me pronounce this name. I Kanu, big up yourself, my brother. How can I, what's this word here? Protibute and support I mission going forward. I'm currently in Antigua, Wadadli, and site up the Chad in Ghana. Legacy Gardens Ghana has a school, restaurant, and hotel. And big up Legacy Gardens. I actually have footage. I'm going to be showcasing Legacy Gardens in our series, The Road to Heaven on Earth, because we had a reception there. We were received royally at Legacy Gardens in Ghana by the family there with Isis, Nyabingi Isis. As a matter of fact, if you watch the episode that we dropped today, it opens up with Ras Bobby, one of our great elders. And this is I elders. Big up Ras Bobby. Let me big up Ras Bobby, the renowned herbalist. This is my elder. I lost one of my elders this year. Ras Iris was one of my key elders who me sit at him foot, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean, great loss, but I gained a new elder this year, which is Ras Bobby. I and Ras Bobby in Ghana is like, you know what I mean, years we know each other because I met him still in St. Croix, but we really cemented the link, you know what I mean? So big up Ras Bobby. So if you see the episode I dropped today, Ras Bobby, the first immunity sound that he blocked in Ghana was at Legacy Gardens, and that footage is there that opens up the series. So definitely, Virgin Legacy Gardens is an example of repatriation, and them brethren, they have been in Ghana for decades, you know what I mean? So I didn't get to interview the Idrin, but in future we definitely will sit down with the Idrin and interview him in future trad to Ghana. So these are the things that we're talking about, you know what I mean? And that would be part of the supply chain because he has a restaurant. So our ITAL food shops are a critical part of the sovereign supply chain, you know what I mean? The end of the supply chain where the end user connect, you know what I mean? So and that's the beautiful thing about Rastafari right now is one family, you know what I mean? Is one family, you know what I mean? He said that is I family. Yeah, man. The ones them who are chatting, the thing that we must now do is consolidation, you know? So what I'm asking from my global family is for that financial support for the Rastafari media. And again, I say if the item don't like I find another media platform to support. We have Honorable Priest Isaac, we have Ija Star, we have Rastafari TV, we have Muta Baruka, You know, we have so many ones who have their own media platforms. If you don't like I because I chat too much or I'm long-winded, go and support one of the other platforms. That's fine, but we have to get serious about investing in our independent media. You know what I mean? I make a strong case for I platform because I am probably one of the most universal platforms in the sense that, you know, Naya Bingi, 12 Tribe, Bobo Shanti, E.W.F, Orthodox, all of them feature here. We're global. We have voices from all around the world. So I would think as a global Rastafari family that the item would want to uplift this platform and make it see how great we can get. Because I always say this is just the first phase. We want to get into documentary filmmaking. We want to get into animation. We want to get into blockbuster films. You know what I mean? Raskabinda in Ethiopia, the great Desmond Chatter, need a blockbuster film, you know. Where is the blockbuster film about Papa Daya who walked from England to Shashamane, hitchhiking and you know what I mean? Where's that blockbuster film for I youth them? You know what I mean? Where's the animated Battle of Adwa film? Or the animated film of Haile Selassie, Ethiopia, the birth of His Majesty for the youth them. You know what I mean? So, or the anime film them, you know what I mean? Or the Italian invasion. These things is I have to do them. But again, it has to be funded by the people. And content is not going anywhere. This is why I pivot from the law into content because I realize the impact that we're looking to have is going to be made in the media space in terms of this time and also preserving the integrity of the levity. You know, it's going to be done in the media space. Yes, you know, you have some ones that are reasoning with our elders and thing. A brethren, I was telling a brethren, I don't see it, but brethren said, no man, it's still a youth, still a sit down with elders and I get the feeding. Because I was telling this elder that my generation is probably the last generation that sit at the feet of the elders and chat with the elders them and you know what I mean. I still maintain that, but the elders said no man, youths them come in. I don't think it's happening consistently like how I were as youths, where every day we are chat with the elders because there wasn't cell phones in those time. You know what I mean? We didn't have the same distraction. We weren't scrolling in them time. I don't think smartphone come out them time there. So it's just a different chat right now. So to preserve the integrity, you know what I mean, you really have to be in that media space, content creation space right now for us to preserve the integrity of this trad, feed the root of this trad, you know what I mean? But it has to be well funded, you know what I mean? So if you have the ability, you know, to give $10 a month, to give $5 a month, join us on the Patreon, become part of the inner circle, and let us shake up the world. You know what I mean? Let us show the world what Rastafari media is capable of doing. Right now, we have an elder in Gambia, and I'm gonna be doing some special thing around Gambia. Um, the elder was trimmed, you know what I mean, and arrested, I think, for some ganja charge and rights violated. Where's the Rastafari media to amplify that? And big up Just Jam magazine. Again, that's another platform that one can support. Just Jam magazine brought it to I attention. Sister Fleury out of the UK, who is actually a trained journalist doing powerful work. And I told her I would amplify the message and the word sound. So we're going to be doing some content around that, brethren, when we get some more information. Our elder, but again, we need a robust media. We should be able to send a media crew to Gambia, go sit up at the courthouse, interview the people, them highlight, bring pressure against these African governments and other governments that are persecuting I because a lot of the fight that we fought in the Caribbean, and a large part are winning or have won in the Caribbean in terms of sacramental ganja, our Rastafari brethren and sisters are fighting those fights on the continent. And if we had a robust media to hold the ones them accountable, you would have find out, say, we would be get much further. You know what I mean? So don't take it lightly, the power of media, and don't take it lightly, the power of a well-funded media. And that well-funding can come from sponsors. It has to come from the people. You know what I mean? It's I and I have to be that that source. To all of my E.W.F family, now that I'm a member of E.W.F, I will be reaching out to my E.W.F family to support um, the vibration as well. And we will be a platform for the E.W.F. I mean, we have already been, as I said, I've interviewed several E.W.F members, but even more so now that I'm a member, you know, I'll be more in tune with the works that E.W.F is doing, so we'll be more able to bring these things to the fore. And again, highlight, help direct resources to some of these E.W.F projects. Because it's key. It's key right now. All of our projects need to be well funded. And the item know my two words when we deal with over here. What are those two words? Put them in the comments. If you know my two buzzwords, let me see who's a true Lion Voice Network supporter. Put in the comments if you know what my two buzzwords are that I chant. You know what I mean? Put them in the comments. Let me see if the item know I and I Irates. You know what I mean? Two words where I said that as Rastafari we have to deal with right now when it come on to the works. If you know them, put them in the comment section. Two words. It's two words. Not collective security. Big up Freeway Jed. Blessing. The two collective security is are two words that are key. But my two buzzwords that I chant for that we have to deal with in terms of Rastafari are budget and staff. Meaning any programs or projects we're dealing with must have a budget, and that budget must include staff, meaning we want full-time people working on Rastafari projects. Again, volunteer Ethiopia, and we love it. And we've come so far on volunteer works. I volunteer in several non-profits, you know what I mean? But we have to get to the level where we have budgets and staff, meaning fully funded. And the only way I see that we'll get there quickly is by crowdfunding, meaning if we have 1,000 people with $10, that's $100,000. You tell me we can't do that once a week? Find 1,000 people from a global Rastafari where supposedly we have a couple million Rastafari. You telling me we can't find 1,000 people with $10 to fund a project fully? Is a lack of imagination, a lack of intention, a lack of direction why we are where we are. And let me be clear, we are far, you know. It's less than 100 years. 2030, we celebrate 100 years of Rastafari. If you look at Christianity, Islam, all those faiths after the 100-year mark, they couldn't come close to where we are right now. You know what I mean? In terms of the global spread, in terms of the achievements, you know what I mean? However, we are serious about, you know what I mean, scaling and building up this thing. You know what I mean? Yes, grassroots and budget and staff. Yes, I want and again, Lion Pride. We're thinking different than the rest. You know what I mean? So when you are a regular listener on this platform, you're gonna have a different reasoning when you go amongst your brethren and sisters, because we're dealing with the practical things that are going to lead us to liberation. This is not no fluff channel, you know what I mean? And we might suffer in our views, we might suffer because it's not sexy, it's not alluring to enough people, but we're gonna deal with it, you know what I mean? Um, we're gonna deal with it. We're gonna deal with it the right way. Um, but you know what I mean? We are here. We have returned from Ghana fresh. This is our first live in over a month since we left for Ghana. As I said, we're fully loaded with content, exclusive interviews. My good brethren Kadamawi Knife was in Ghana. We got our first interview with Kadamawi Knife in Africa. So we got his impressions. He came out to the Kwasi, the 5-acre campus, in City Works. So him see what we are dealing with. You know what I mean? So we got that interview. Ras Aswad, legendary Rastafari living in Ghana. We have them interview the Ras Bobby, international herbalist. Man, we're fully loaded. So we're gonna be bringing the item exclusive interviews all for the rest of the year around this trad and so much more. And every Saturday we're gonna be resuming our lives. Every Saturday we will be resuming with reading Ras on the front line, Ras Sekou to Farai, all them things that will forward in November. We will also have the whole heap of things, you know what I mean? Our Wednesday lives will be resuming as well. So we're getting forward to our regular schedule. Again, we took a month off, and I want to big up everyone who has watched all of the older episodes, the rerun episodes, flash forward episodes that we put up the whole month. The item we're watching and commenting, so we give thanks for that. But we are returned fresh, live and direct, and it's a joy, you know what I mean? It's a joy and happiness in terms of what we're doing. We're sending love and honor to our Jamaica family suffering from the hurricane. If you're just joining us, we are going to be doing some fundraising on behalf of the Rastafari community, but we're not rushing to do that because we're doing our vetting, reaching out to other entities. I know discussions have started within RMO, some of the other entities on the ground in Jamaica. So when we get information in terms of credible places where we can send resources and direct strength, we will come forward, and we're praying that the Global Lion Pride family will rally with us to support our brethren and sisters in Jamaica. We also have Haiti, Cuba that have been impacted. I don't know about the Rastafari communities in those places, but we definitely know Jamaica Rastafari community was hit hard. So we're gonna do our best to support our Jamaica Rastafari community. Family, also let I and I know what topics that the item want to see. Um, we're gonna be doing so much in terms of content. You know what I mean? Um, we're gonna be doing so much in terms of content. I am here editing day and night, trying to just be ready. You know what I mean? Day and night trying to be ready for the item. I'm expecting a special guest. Hopefully, they'll be joining us shortly, just very briefly. So we'll see if that happens. If not, we're gonna seal up shortly. But this was nice, you know what I mean? Because I missed the item. I'm gonna tell the item the truth. I missed the item, you know. Yeah, man, give thanks for the little break, you know what I mean? But I did miss the lives, the energy, the family. Because we build a vibes over the last 4 years of doing this platform, and you know what I mean, even for see ones like Ross Roots, Freeway, Dread, you know what I mean, with Patreon family, Ross Greg, some of the regulars who always give that love and support. We miss the item, you know what I mean, and miss having the comment section. I say we have the greatest online community on the planet. And I'm biased, but I feel that way. And I really give thanks for the item supporting I and I works and being there for I and I. And I mean, because as I say, it's not easy being a content creator sometime when videos them sometimes you put whole heap of work in a video and the video might get 50 views. You know what I mean? That's a struggle of every content creator. Sometimes you just throw up a video and gone 10,000. You know what I mean? So that's how it works. You know what I mean? But it's the people ultimately. If you're doing it and nobody responds or nobody comments or nobody gives you that encouragement, then you're not gonna last very long. The reason that we've lasted for 4 years consistently, because remember, it's not a full-time job. Even though we post every day, we've been consistent for 4 years, posting almost every day. The reason we can do that and we feel encouraged is because of the ones who comment, the ones who like, who share, the ones who, when I see them in person, they say, boy, the I platform really, uplift I and I, you know what I mean? That is the reason why we can continue to do this work. However, that being said, we're not going to be complacent or satisfied with just getting by. Again, we want to build a mature ecosystem. I want to be able to do this full time, and then hire staff. I want to be able to have a budget. We have a budget now which covers our basic expenses in terms of subscription, the StreamYard subscription, our website, all of those things are covered. Currently, we bought a camera from our Patreon, all of those different things, you know what I mean? Um, we do that through our monthly subscribers, but we want to scale. We want to hire young people. We want to have correspondents in the different regions bringing news and information. We want to be able to hire editors so that we don't have to be spending so much time editing. We want to do all of those things. And so I'm going to be pushing hard on my 100 core supporters. Coming to 100 of the item out there to get off the fence and to join us in the monthly support. I know that my 100 people were, locking. I know me have 100 people were locking. Out of the 56,000, I don't watch the 56,000. First of all, I give thanks for it, but I don't let that get to my head because I know most of that audience is in Africa. And being in Africa, I realize in Africa, we have issues with network, with how the phones work in terms of having money. So those ones can't always watch the full long videos, but they have to preserve, the money that they have on their phone for internet and these things. So that will bear fruit down the line as Africa infrastructure gets better. Majority of my viewers are in Africa. However, that core 100, women know nah left me. We watch every video. We make sure them tell people that they must share. I want to make sure we can get those, or at least start by getting those people as monthly subscribers so that we can do more. We want to do more. We want to build more. You know what I mean? So, hold on. I have someone here. Oh, big up yourself. Haha, 11 people watching. What a joke. It's funny to the eye. We're glad say you get a joke off of it. You know what I mean? I'm glad, you know what I mean, that it's funny to the eye. Um, that don't impact I and I, you know what I mean? Because you took the time to say something negative. And we give thanks, you know what I mean, because you're engaged in the algorithm. And if you don't know, most of the people will watch this on the replay. So we don't watch that, you know what I mean? And you got to start somewhere. If anybody who is a content creator know, you got to start somewhere. So it starts with 11 people. We're glad for each of those 11. And remember, say you're one of the 11 people too with your bad comment. So we give thanks for that. You have to start somewhere. You know what I mean? Because if you don't start somewhere, then where you going to do? You're going to sit down and do nothing? No, you got to start. When I started this, um, I went a year before I had one person in my Patreon, my brother. So you don't know where we are come from when you come with your bright comment. We come from far to reaching 56,000 subscribers. You don't know where we are come from. So yes, we have 11 people on this live, and we appreciate love each of those 11 people, 10 people now, you know what I mean? So um, we don't watch that. You can come in and disagree, fine, but we won't let the item derail what we are talking about. But this is what we deal with, family. You know what I mean? The naysayers coming in, they just make us stronger. But we know that, um, and this is a good lesson for those of the item who want to start something, but you're afraid because how it might look. You know what I mean? A lot of people, this is what stops them from starting, and they don't realize that failure is a part of any process. You have to fail before you can succeed, and if you fail, that's why black people not going nowhere right now, because we are watch this and we are watch that instead of just doing the work, being consistent and doing the work. You know what I mean? We couldn't build what we've built so far if we had been watching why there's sometimes there's only 5 people on the live and we still go through, and when you watch the replay it might be over 100 people that watch on the replay. So you gotta build your audience and just keep consistent and let it be a lesson to everybody who's watching that you cannot stop, you know what I mean? And you can't please everybody, you know what I mean? You cannot please everybody. Some people will look at you and talk and make their remarks, but you gotta watch what are they doing. You know what I mean? Can I go to this brethren platform and see anything and be edified by anything? Probably not. So him have to just talk and remember this is a dangerous platform for the peoples, because if that same brethren who call this a joke stay on the platform and listen, him probably become a supporter of the platform. If him have anything positive about him, you know what I mean? Um, the vibration and frequency will make him rise, you know what I mean? But this is again, this is all part of it, and we're here. I'm gonna give my guest a few more moments to see if my guest is gonna join. If not, we're gonna seal up. We've gone 2 hours, and we have a whole heap of work that we have to do again tomorrow. We have a panel of Ethiopia, I mean, all Rastafari. Let me share the flyer here. Let me share the flyer with the family. We have an all African born Rastafari panel. It's going to be historic. Usually, when we talk about the coronation, we're talking to Rastafari from the diaspora. So I wanted to have a reasoning, coming straight from Ghana. I wanted to have a reasoning with our brethren and sisters born and raised on the continent. You know what I mean? To get their vibes. What does a coronation mean to Rastafari born and raised on the continent? Because a lot of time in the diaspora, we just talking to ourselves in the diaspora. And part of what we're going to be doing with this platform moving forward is building that bridge between Rastafari, who are in the diaspora and Rastafari who are on the continent, because that's how we're going to exercise that true power. You know what I mean? So tomorrow we have a powerful panel. You know what I mean? Powerful panel. We have Daddy Bosco, who is the chair of the Rastafari Continental Congress. We have Tau Tau, renowned Rastafari, has his own interpretation. He's been licking out against the Judeo-Christian, Africanizing Rastafari in his own way. So we're very interested to hear what he has to say about the coronation. We have Honorable Mike Pem, who is the chairman of the RCC in Nigeria, our Nigerian Rastafari community, growing community. And we have a sister, Sipokazi, out of South Africa. She's the chair of the RCC Youth Council. And we're going to hear from them in terms of their vibes around the coronation. You know what I mean? The crowning. That's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Set your alarm. That is 7 p.m. Ghana time, 9 p.m. South Africa time. That's going to be 2 p.m. Jamaica time. So set your alarm. It's going to be a powerful vibration. You know what I mean? Very powerful vibration. So stay tuned. We're coming with so much content, so much vibration. I can say one of the best YouTube channel yet. I give thanks for the inspiration. More fire. The Rasta man, I keep the fire burning. So I give thanks. So you see, Brendan, if you're still there, even though it's a joke today, people appreciate love. And if you are a content creator and even one or two people appreciate love what you're doing, keep going. Keep moving. You know what I mean? Don't let anything discourage you as a man. Once you have a vision, once you have a passion, and I have a passion for what I'm doing, keep going, keep pressing forward, regardless of what the naysayers say, what the people laugh and point and jeer and say, look at this youth, and you know what I mean? Don't make that stop you. You know what I mean? Once you are, even if you impact one life, one person, you know what I mean? That means that the more side inner the eye, and it connect with the more side inner next one. So you keep on moving forward. You know what I mean? Forward ever, backward never. You understand? All right. So before we seal up, I have a very special guest. I titled this episode, Why Did I Join the E.W.F? And I have one of the reasons why I joined the E.W.F here. If you're just joining us, I said that one of the reasons I joined E.W.F was observing the new international president, Sister Cheryl Murray, Esquire. She I've had occasion just to watch her on some epic marathon E.W.F calls, and just watching how she, patiently deals with the vibration, not making it about herself. I don't just watch how a person deal with the good times. I watch how they deal with conflict, how they deal with dissent. You know what I mean? And I see that is a sister like myself that seeks to de-escalate, that seeks to have positive resolution. And as a leader myself, I could only rally to help my sister, you know what I mean, by joining the effort instead of standing on the sideline. Because I have to practice what I preach. I tell my lion pride, don't be on the sideline, come off the fence, get active, take action. So I have to do that. So please help I to welcome Sister Cheryl Murray Powell, who is the international president for the Ethiopian World Federation. She's an alumnus of the Lion Voice Network, and she's here with I and I. Welcome.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. What a beautiful welcome. I'm sorry I'm not in official attire today. I was at the gym. I was taking my son to get sneakers, all the things. You're going to hear my smoke alarm needing a battery. Like, we're doing the real thing today. However, congratulations on all the success of Lion Talk Radio. It was phenomenal spending, 10 plus days with you in Ghana, getting to know you. I was observing as well. And yes, I'm the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. It is with great pride that I serve this institution that was founded by His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I in 1937 by Royal Imperial Charter. We have a number of locals globally. You had many choices, and you chose to join my local, which is Local Charter 12. So I'm just grateful to have you as part of our think tank, one of our thought leaders, one of the examples to follow. I love how you're revolutionizing Rastafari as far as making sure that we're modernizing in a way that preserves our culture and our traditions, and that we're having this mutual accountability relationship with our fellow Rastafari community members. So, I learn from you every day, every time we're in an encounter. So it is with great pride that we were able to welcome you into memberships as you took your pledge of membership last week into Local Charter 12 for the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. So thank you, Kwasi. We're kind of nerdy the same way. So you make my book recommendations. The Haile Selassie's War is such a great book that you recommended for me, and I'm learning. And then today I was at the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and I picked up a book that was recommended by our executive secretary over a year ago, Wolete Gabriel, which is the history of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Okay.
Which it's out of publishing, and it's it's $200 at the St. Gabriel Church, but on Amazon it can be as high as $1,000 sometimes. So these historical texts are going out of print. The history is at risk of not being preserved. People whitewash history all the time, but we're less at risk of that with the Lion Talk Network. And that's why I really want to make sure that we as a community invest our resources into supporting you on this journey as you build this archive of all the great things that are Rastafari, all our historians, all our ancients who are no longer with us, making sure those stories are secured and preserved in these times so that we can learn from their example, learn from our history, but really take pride in how far we've come and how we've gone past the persecution. As you're aware, when I was in Ghana, I did a talk for Black Sustainability Summit, which was called From Surviving to Sustainability to Sovereignty. And that was completely given to me by Jah. I had a whole different title before, and I was just reading the words of His Imperial Majesty. But even since I've given that talk, and I'm going to give it again at the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association's Indigenous Cannabis Policy Summit, it's how relevant is that today? We have gotten so not comfortable, but used to surviving, just surviving as Rastafari, surviving as the Ethiopian World Federation, and not really walking in our inheritance. A lot of times there are a lot of obstacles. I'm not saying it's out of laziness or anything like that. We have a lot of obstacles. We've been persecuted, but sometimes we're being conditioned to not escape, to not seek freedom, to not seek independence. We have to have this mindset change, as His Imperial Majesty spoke about, where we go from this period of surviving, and he uses it in reference to Ethiopia surviving, especially the early days of colonialism, by being in isolation intentionally as Ethiopia. So, but once you get from, surviving, you go into the sustainability phase where you look at who are the people that we can work with? What are the reforms that need to take place? How do we defend against these, predatory world powers. And then from there, once we, figure out our strategy around sustainability, we can lock into our sovereignty and really make the demands that we need to. And I think we're seeing that phase come back again, as the Ethiopian World Federation, as Rastafari, as the Black people of the world, as we lean more into the reparations conversations, as we lean more into our right to repatriate, and we declare that right, and we stand by our members and our Rastafari community members as they want to make that journey. And we're going to make that journey easier through our partnerships, through our relationships with Habesha. And what I saw in Ghana, as far as what was accomplished by yourself and Bingi Sean, with the Habesha concept of Kwasi, it's mind-blowing. And it makes you think that, we have to be dreamers. We have to reimagine what this repatriation looks like. We've heard enough stories of people saying, I went over with $26. I went over with $100. I went over with $300. I went over with some seeds. Whatever the story is, we have to think bigger than that and figure out, how do we do this as a collective and be respectful of our host country, our new country of maybe citizenship or residency, but in a way that we're collectively, and we have the spirit of collective responsibility, but we're collectively making this migration together in a way that has never been done before. But with this prototype of Kwasi, it's achievable. It's achievable. And that's what I walked away from our trip in Ghana with, is the fact that, God bless the dreamers. God bless the people who see the vision that other people don't see. And we need to support those dreamers. And once we see the prototype, that is proof positive that we've done it once and we can do it again. It's like the person who's built $1 million empire and then the stock market crashes, something, they lose it all. They know they're in a better position than the person who's never done it before. $1 million may seem like so inconceivable to someone who's never done it before. But to someone who has built that before, they're like, all right, let me go back to the blueprint. Let me go back to the plan and let me replicate what I did before. I know I may have to tighten my belt. I may have to take some jobs that I didn't want to take while I'm working on my dream on the side. But once you've done it, it's achievable. And I left Ghana saying, we've done it. We've created this repatriation model that is sustainable, that feels good, that allows us to be in service to each other, that's respectful of our host country and our villages, our villagers, and our kings, and our chiefs that exist on the African continent. So I know this is a long introduction, but when I see your face and I see your, and I just remember all of our conversations about progress, about unity, I get so fired up and amped up, just being in your presence, honestly.
No, give thanks. And I was at Kwasi telling people that this is heaven on earth, and I didn't get any pushback. And it wasn't just Rastafari people there. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's a proof of concept. And that's how myself and Bingi Sean always envision Kwasi, as a proof of concept, that heaven on earth is possible. You know what I mean? And
yes, sir.
Kwasi has evolved even since I was there last, because the last time I was there was 2022. And even since the last time I was there, I was in awe. And I've seen it from, it was just bush, you know what I mean? So it also shows us that heaven on earth is not a static concept, you know what I mean? It's a constant evolving, it's a constant improvement. And we can't let where we are today dissuade us from where we're going tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So I think it's critical. Before you came on, I was talking about the difference between de jure sovereignty and de facto sovereignty. And I was saying that I personally, de jure is not so important right now because the state of international law and the chaos that's happening. But I think what we need to be working for as EWF and as the Black peoples of the world is de facto sovereignty, in the sense
Yeah.
of making sure that on the ground we are in supreme control over all of the things that impact us. How do you feel about that kind of assessment?
Yeah, I feel great about it, and I think the de facto sovereignty is all about economic sovereignty.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, you know, a lot of people have been kicking that concept around lately. I went to 19 Keys event here in New York City, and
Okay.
then I encouraged our international treasurer to go in London today. So I went like maybe about a month ago in New York City, and I was like, go, because we want to work with them. We want to see how they're revolutionizing the younger generation to get involved and embrace Pan-African concepts. So yeah, then after that, I got an opportunity to speak to one of the speakers, Ryan Leslie, and he told
Okay.
his story about, you know, economic sovereignty and how, you know, he lost a court case, and then the damages were $1 million, and it was just taken out of his bank account. He's like, oh no, I need to figure out this economic sovereignty thing, so I can't just be, you know, taken for $1 million just like that, with no one saying anything to me. It's just like gone like that. And that's when he started looking at Bitcoin and things like that. So we have to be really creative about what that concept looks like. But yes, the de facto sovereignty starts with concepts around our economic sovereignty as well,
Yes.
and our independence.
And the big thing that we were talking about in
Mhm.
Ghana, which was our food sovereignty,
Yes.
Black food sovereignty, and making sure that we control our food supply, all aspects of the food supply chain.
Yes,
I
sir.
think we all left that gathering with a greater understanding of the importance, and that if that is not top of our conversation, then we're not very serious about being free, because you can't sustain on positive ideas. You have to eat. We have to eat
You have to
every
eat.
day, and whoever is feeding you is in control of you ultimately,
Correct.
because they can cut off your food supply. We're seeing that
Hmm.
in places like Gaza Strip, where there's great food insecurity, and we're seeing how important it is to control our food. So
Yeah.
um, I want to
And
come.
food is recession proof. That's one
Yes,
thing the pandemic,
yes,
showed us, is the fact that, food and pharmacy are recession proof. When people are going to need their medicine, and they're going to need food as medicine, they're going to need their nutrition. So that's an industry that is sustainable. And when you look when you look at the history of world leaders and how many of them got taken out, a lot of it was through their food sources as well.
yes, yes,
You have to have control over your food sources to have true independence and to make your mark with regards to history. You cannot be reliant on any other entity to supply your food. And we're good at it. We've fed the world as African people. We've literally fed the world.
definitely.
So let's look at how we can approach that from an economic standpoint, from a creativity standpoint, from a preservation of tradition and history, and our land race seeds, our heirloom seeds. And you have a really good concept about a unified universal black seed bank and things like that. So yeah, just hearing these concepts that may sound far out to some people, it's going to be a necessity. In this country, I forget who I was talking to earlier today, and they were saying, it was Empress Ima, and they say, in the United States, we run our water, we take showers, and we let it run before we get in to get to right temperature. Other places in the world can't afford to do that. And we have to always be prepared for the times when we may not be able to afford to do that. We may not have that free access to clean, healthy water. We hope it doesn't get to that point, but we have to have the mindset of preservation and not being wasteful. Looking at ugly fruit and vegetables, like they're still edible, like they're still consumable. Looking at how we can utilize our waste for nutrient management programs and things like that, which Kwasi does a great job of. Yeah, it's really interesting times that we're in, and it's almost like Jah has brought us the right thought leadership to help us get past this this phase. And if we do have to go into a survival phase again, we can quickly go to sustainability if we make the preparations today so that we can retain our sovereignty. And that's always going to be the goal. Oh, one thing I was thinking when you were speaking
Yes.
about Kwasi is, and I may have to run and get my charger because I think I'm low on battery, but Kwasi is the ultimate run boat concept. So, in Jamaican tradition and Jamaican community, especially now with the hurricane and love to Jamaica,
Yes,
Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, those affected by the Hurricane Melissa. But, when you have lack, when you have scarcity, because we do like to move from the scarcity mindset to the abundant mindset. When you have scarcity, there's a concept called run boat, and neighbors would say, you know what, let's make a soup. I have this meat, I have potatoes, I have yam, I have the carrots, I have whatever, and we call it run boat, and you make a meal that can serve multiple households. Kwasi is an important ingredient to our universal global run boat journey to sovereignty. Ross Bingi Sean and yourself and his beautiful wife Siobhan and their family are coming to the table with something and saying, let's do this run boat, right? This is a concept we're familiar with. We're going to run boat. We'll bring this prototype of what it could look like for us to do a repatriation program, make it a soft landing for repatriates. Now, other people need to come to the table with something that's going to make it easier, that'll get us to our goal. So that's the way I look at it with Kwasi, is like, that made me challenge myself. So what am I bringing to the table? I bring my intellectual property. We've talked about domains that I've had. We talk about, training programs that I've delivered and can deliver. Everybody needs to really look at not what can I get. This is being made easier for me. What am I bringing to the table so we can really run boat and have build with all these ingredients a very nutritious meal that'll serve the community well.
Excellent point. How is your family faring in Jamaica with the hurricane?
So far, so good. Give thanks for asking. So far, so good. Rebuilding. What I'm concerned about is mold. I think that's where the mold and the health is what I'm most concerned, because it's going to be like a slow reveal, right? And that's something people won't prioritize. They're going to prioritize getting mud out of their houses, building back the roads and things like that. I understand Jamaica took out an insurance policy that put us in a more secure position. So that was very sound judgment by the leadership to take out this insurance policy, hurricane insurance for the entire country. Yes. But the mold remediation experts, and I'm hearing there aren't that many present in Jamaica, but it's really necessary because we're going to have residual health problems later on. Also getting rid of the deceased, and making sure there's no. That I was on the dark call last night and we were talking about that. So that's the Diasporic African Rastafari Council, and we were talking about how the decaying human body can cause so many health-related issues and disease. So those are the things you don't immediately think about that we need to stay on top of. If we have mold remediation experts in Jamaica, we need to highlight them. We need to enrich them and have them be given money from this insurance policy from, those people abroad, so that they can reduce the risk of these mold-related illnesses in the future.
And also mosquitoes, the standing water, dengue fever.
Yes.
There's going to be. It's going to take Jamaica years to recover from this catastrophe, because I don't think people understand the level of devastation in some of the areas. When someone loses their house and all their worldly possessions, that is not something you spring back from in a couple of months.
No.
or even 6 months. It's going to take people years. I have a brethren, Warrior King, popular
Yes, sir.
artist, who I heard has lost his whole house. I mean, everything. He was had a farm in Saint Elizabeth.
Okay.
Completely wiped out. So this is not something light. You know what I mean? This is a very serious issue. I'm waiting. I actually was just talking to Jabi from Dark
Oh, excellent.
in terms of what Dark is going to be doing in terms of
Yes.
hurricane support, so that we can coordinate. I know the RMO is also
Fantastic.
do something, so we want to centralize the efforts. You know what I mean, and use this as an opportunity to forge a greater unity among
Beautiful.
Rastafari. So prayerfully that will happen.
Yeah,
Um,
they're supposed to work with us. So one concept I'm working, I still have to run it by the IEC, is like one, and then this is once the immediate needs
explain
are.
what the IEC is for those who are not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The International Executive Council. So the international officers that are elected every year. I'm the international president. There's an international first vice, second vice, international treasurer, international organizer, international executive secretary, international chaplain, and then 3 elected members that sit on the IEC, and that's kind of the decision-making body, the federal body for the E.W.F. So with regards to the hurricane relief, I have a concept that I have to run by them, which is adopt a family, adopt a farm. So giving people the opportunity to make direct relationships with families and farms. And if they need a rake, they need, a generator, they need, we can meet their needs and see that I bought this family this, and when I won't go to Jamaica next, I'm going to visit the family and I'm going to see the thing that I bought actually with this family. So it just brings the aid a little more personalized. But this is, again, a phase 2 for the immediate need, where they need bed linens, they need generators, they need mattresses, they need cots, they need first aid kits. These are the immediate bulk needs that they have in Jamaica. Once those needs are taken care of and people resettle, then to get people where they were before, or they're more self-sustaining, we're going to do the Adopt a Family, Adopt a Farm program. We work with Canacure, as you're aware. Canacure works with a number of farms in St. Elizabeth. Shout out to Ross Neal and Ross Baya, who I already spoke to. Ross Neal, and he's the one, after I talked to him about the farm needs, he's the one who prompted this concept of, why don't we just do an Adopt a Farm program? And he's making a list currently for some of the immediate needs for the farmers. Because the farmers are going to have to feed the community. So
Yes.
we do have to prioritize our farmers so that they can start producing. So we don't have to, we already import way too much produce into Jamaica. Above 90% of the produce is imported and we should be doing more. Maybe this is our opportunity to change that ratio by really supporting our farmers there and getting them back on their feet quickly, so that they truly are feeding the community. So those are we have to see the opportunities through the pain.
Definitely. And I'm gonna let you go. I know you've had a long day, but before we seal up, I want you to just share with our family how
Yes,
you found the Lion Voice Network team in Ghana. You saw them.
let me tell you. That's like my favorite joke with Kwasi. He's always talking about his team. His team is himself. He is just a dynamic individual. So I'm saying, what does your team think about this decision you made? He's like, I have to consult with my team. We have to talk about them. We have to make sure they have their ducks in a row. It was so much fun. It was so light. Thank you for giving me those chuckles along the way with your team, and how your team just bud you up with regards to the Lion Talk Network. Too funny. But yeah, I was very impressed with the Lion Talk Network team. It's time for expansion.
Yes.
They are quality is non-negotiable for the Lion Talk Network team, and they're everywhere. So don't think you're having a private moment while you're at Kwasi and you're reflecting and chatting. You might just see that footage somewhere, because They're on it. You're farming, you're planting your sweets up, you're planting your lettuce. Don't worry, Lion Talk captured that footage, so
Yeah.
you'll be seeing that again. But
Have you seen the
with
first
joy.
episode of our series? Have you got a chance to watch it?
I've been sharing it. I started watching it at the gym, but I didn't get to finish
Okay.
it. I saw the first thing was showed did such a great job showing the welcome and local 24, how they made a reception for us, and we had our own bingy, and really were welcomed into Ghana the right way. So
Yes.
shout out to Ross Conrad, the president of our local 24. Shout out to Ross Andezion from local 30. He was with me on my exit out of Ghana. And then we have some younger Rastafari members that are born in Ghana, which is fantastic. When and you're doing a whole show on African-born Rastafari, which is I've never seen that before, so I'm so intrigued. I can't wait to see that. But we have some African-born Rastafari that are going to start a local in the Volta region. They're already organizing, and they have the benefit of the leadership from one of our, soldiers. Ross Oswald is right there saying, I'm going to help them. I'm going to make sure that they can have their own vision. But if they have any questions, if they need support, I'll be right there in the local. That's how we need to do it.
Yes.
Multi-generation movements. There's no other way.
And I only tease that E.W.F welcome. The next episode, we're going to go more in depth into showcasing the bingy and some of the speeches and some of the it was a very royal reception.
It was
by the E.W.F in Ghana, and just speaks to the power of the organization. And I have to also send a special shout out to Rasadai.
I love Rasadai.
Ethiopian World Federation, brethren out of Shashamani.
Local 14.
Local 14 representing.
What a brilliant mind.
Yes,
what a brilliant mind and an ethical character. Yes. I just love spending time with him. Yeah.
So, but it just speaks to the latent power of the E.W.F. Yes, and, so many of I and I are members, and I see the resurrecting the fire within the membership. And that's why I had to come off of the fence and to join and to lend my voice, because it's time we gotta save ourselves not only from annihilation but also carve a place for ourselves
in the sun.
You know what I mean? So I had to answer the call. Any final words before we seal up?
I just want to say it's such a joy and a privilege to be in this position of leadership as the international president of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. I've been evangelizing our 7 R's that we're focusing on this administration. I'll go quickly through them. The first one is, recruiting. We want to be attractive to the Black people of the world. We want you to join us and want to join us and want to contribute. Reclamation. We're going to reclaim our members. Maybe it was you were disillusioned, disinterested, maybe disgusted with us. We want you back, and we want you back in a big way. Reparations. It is time for reparations. We need to be paid for this transatlantic slave trade, for the colonialism, for the civil rights journey, the Jim Crow era. There's just been so much worldwide harm that we need to recompense for it and start using those funds for our future, our new future. Repatriation, well, that's all about cross-organizational coalitions and working together. It's the MOUs with the Habeshes. It's the MOUs with Association of Rastafari Creatives. It's the MOUs with RMO. It's the MOUs with CRO. It's the MOUs with the Millennial Council. It's the relationships with all of the governments. It's so much fun, but you're making history at the same time. Restoration, restoring hearts and minds. There's a very emotional part of how we're going to reclaim our members. And and getting people to really have faith in each other again and get rid of this suspicion that we have of ourselves as Black people. So we're going to restore hearts and minds and our belief in ourselves and our belief in each other. Reform, we're going to reform our policies to bring them up to date and modernize, like His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I was focused on modernization. We're almost 100 years past his coronation, the joint coronation. Happy Coronation Day to all.
Yes, yes.
So it's time for us to really reform some of these policies that we have internally, but we also will affect the world. And we're going to do some global reform so we don't have, a Russ getting his hair trim in Ghana and being incarcerated, still incarcerated to this day, over a week later, for a half
Gambia.
In Gambia. Where did I say?
Ghana.
Sorry, pardon.
Yes.
Not in Ghana, in Gambia.
Yes,
Dawda
yes.
is
We're
the Ross,
gonna
and
be
he's
featuring that in a future episode. So
excellent.
definitely.
Yeah, we're our own defense, right? So we need to make sure these things don't happen. That's reform. We need to reform some of these archaic laws. And then our final R has to do with relief from financial stressors and financial insufficiency through building a treasury. Again, it requires trust to do that. We have to trust each other, but we need to build a treasury so that we can change the world. We need to build a treasury so that we can execute on His Imperial Majesty's plan. So I'm here for it, and I'm fired up, and I'm more encouraged when I see someone of your caliber look at E.W.F and say, I want to be a part of it. I want to join. I want to contribute. That gets me more excited, and that makes me know that Jah is ordering our steps and we're walking in the right ways to make sure that we're helping the Black people of the world, that we are taking our rightful place on this planet as far as what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be feeling about ourselves, the change we're supposed to be making. So for those few words, I give thanks and I support you, my brother. I'm so grateful to your family, your wife, for being so generous in giving your time to us. I don't take that for granted. I was fortunate to meet your wife. She's lovely, amazing, brilliant. And, those are the families that are going to take us into the futures, the ones that get it. And it's about support. It's about supporting. And again, there's life balance. There's always man, woman, life balance. Joint coronation. His Imperial Majesty showed us that example. So I always have to big up the spouses, the significant others, the partners who sacrifice so that we can have a Ras Kwasi in the E.W.F. and in RMO and in Habasha and in ARC and in IDOR. This work needs to be done. We have the right people with the right integrity doing it. And we have the families that are going to support on the home front to make sure it gets done as we build our treasury and we execute on His Imperial Majesty's vision. Selassie, Rastafari.
Give thanks. Big up my Queen Shireen. I couldn't do any of what I did without her. So definitely want to big her up. Family, tomorrow we have the Emperor for all Africans, all Rastafari, born on the continent, panel discussion taking place. Set your alarm. It's going to be epic. For my family in the DMV, we have a coronation event also taking place tomorrow. So if you're in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, come and join us. We'll have youth trivia. We'll have coronation presentation, ITAL food, music, Lionheart sound will be playing. The whole Rastafari DMV family will be there. Nyabingi Isis chanting. So please join us. We are celebrating the 95th coronation, and we are giving thanks. Give thanks to our international E.W.F president, Sister Cheryl Murray Powell.
Thank you.
Definitely, as I said, someone who is inspiring the hearts and minds of the E.W.F globally. And we are going to amplify her message, her mission here on the Lion Voice Network. This will be a platform for the E.W.F to get out its messaging. I will be joining the E.W.F PR goodie, to make sure that we can help.
Publicity committee. Yes,
committee.
You're already on it. You're already there.
Yeah, I saw that in our local 12. So we'll definitely do what we can to help to amplify the messaging. And yeah, I'm just very excited. The work is a lot, but
Me too.
The work is necessary, and we are strong, we are together, we are united, and even though it may be a chosen few, the Most High never puts more than we can bear. So
and we are equipped. We were born equipped.
Yes, we are confident in the victory of good over evil. So big up yourself, and big up to the global, the global Lion Pride family, and everyone who's out there. We're gonna seal up now. I know I've been talking for almost 3 hours, so give thanks for everyone who stayed with us. Big up Grassroots, give thanks for the iWorks, Honorable Empress. He big you up. One of our
give thanks, Grassroots. Grassroots, I have to, wherever you are, just make sure when you hear I'm on tour there, I'd love to meet you.
Yes, he's in
Kentucky. Thank you for your generosity.
He's in Kentucky, so if you're ever
excellent.
Yeah, in the deep south, Grassroots is there. And Freeway Dread, who's out of Miami, another Lion Pride on Patreon, is sending lightning to show his approval. So
if you're at the Bingy in Miami tomorrow, I will see you there.
Yes,
God willing, if they stop canceling my flights. I already had 2 flights canceled, but the victory is ours. But I would love to see you at the Bingy.
Yes, and that's another thing is that the with the government shutdown, the TSA people are not coming to work. It's creating massive background. So we're watching the collapse happen, and so I hope it implores us to come together more quickly and to attain this de facto sovereignty more quickly.
Yes.
Because again, saving ourselves from annihilation is not just a buzzword. This was His Majesty chose that language or sanctioned that language to be in the Constitution document to show the seriousness of what is facing the Black people of the world, to save ourselves from annihilation and to carve a place for ourselves in the sun. So all of our family, please let us come together and do what we must. Why? Because the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story.
That's right.
And this is the Lion's voice. Rastafari blessings.
And tell your staff they need to pay you extra if they're going to make you work 3 hours.
Lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.